that's a taste you remember. You may not share in the sweet delight. Yeah, we can live forever.
Yeah, you know, again, that's one of the things
That's a time we can get
you want to string together wins. Make sure you don't drop a bunch of consecutive games. So far, the Flyers have done a pretty good job of that. You know, when they do lose, those add up. Really spot where they've got pretty rough time coming up here for the next 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of solid opponents. Next week, tough back-to-back with the two tough players. So, back earlier in the season, and so, I'm really want to keep that going.
MMR rocks. MMR rocks. Period.
Yeah.
Got a tissue that I wish you saw. Side captain, Mr. Know-It-All. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you, 'cause with the birds I'll share. With the birds I'll share this lonely view. And with the birds I'll share this lonely view. And push me up against the wall. Young tuck girl in a push-up bra. I'm falling all over myself to lift your heart in case you're here. 'Cause with the birds I share this lonely view. And with the birds I share this lonely view. And with the birds I share this lonely view. Lost in a bathroom stall, a southern girl with.
So what's feeding my StreamYard?
What's feeding your StreamYard is this here mixer.
Yeah.
Check.
This mixer, well, the mixer just lost everything.
Did you unplug something?
Soft-spoken with a broken jaw. Step outside, but not to brawl. And autumn sweet wind, call it fall. I'll make it to the moon, never have to crawl. And with the birds that share this lonely view. With the birds that share this lonely view. With the birds that share this lonely view. Got tissue that I wish you saw. Side cap, Mr. Know-It-All. You.
1, 2.
There we are.
Okay. We're feeding now.
Now we're feeding.
All right, let's put you back up in
Now we're feeding both the
let's go back.
both the video and Flyers Radio 24/7.
All right, now we're good.
All right.
All right, it's a shame everybody missed that. I can't recall. You got a different paint job tonight. Is that a slightly different paint job tonight? Third jersey paint job.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Philly sports guys.
Here, let me see. Let me get him on camera here.
Yeah. You got to look.
Where is he at? Oh, there he is. He's got the third jersey paint job.
That's very nice.
It's very good.
That's attention to detail.
Yes.
I like that.
Got the TK. He's the star of the game tonight. Matter of fact.
You heard it here first.
Yes. Let me just fix my camera here so everybody can see me, because God forbid. Talking to Mike Yo tonight before the game, Flyers assistant coach, he said he thought TK played his best game of the season the other night.
Okay.
On Thursday against Tampa. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I can go with that. And then, he's one of those guys that we needed to get going this year. Last year was not his year by any sense of the imagination. It's one of those things that you wanted to see happen earlier rather than later. He had a good start to the year, quieted down a little bit, but then everybody has. So, you want to keep seeing him, start getting back to that all-star form, if you will.
Yeah, he was the all-star in the shortened season. Went to the all-star game with the team in goals, 24 and 69 games that year, 30-goal pace. And one of the things the Flyers do have to straighten out is their ability to put the puck in the net. Because, Brian, they come into this game tonight, and as I look at the goals for games played metric in the NHL, the Flyers right now are 21st at 2.73 goals per game. So that they need to get more goals. They need to provide a little more run support.
And a lot of that obviously comes from the last 11 contests. There were 4.5 goals per game.
15 games.
Well, there were 4.5 goals per game through that homestand. You remember the homestand, they blew the doors off. They were third in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, in those last 11 games, they're at 2.09.
Yeah,
so that's obviously not going to get it done. The interesting thing is, to me, that they're getting wins anyway. And in those 11 games, the Flyers have 14 points. Everybody else that's down there around them, like if you bring up that time frame and you look at the whole league and teams that are around 2.09, like Florida, I think Arizona's at 1.79. And then there are a couple other teams that are below 2.15.
Yeah.
Every one of those teams has like 5 points. I think one of them has 8, and that's the most. And the Flyers have 14. So it really sticks out that despite this, they're still getting points, because the other teams that are scoring like this right now are in the tank. And so that's why, that's where it's a double-edged sword. It's great that they're still getting points while scoring like this. They're figuring out a way to get it done on most nights, but at the same time, you don't want to keep it up, because you don't want to regress to where those teams are and go 11 games and only get 5, 6, 7 points. That's going to put you in a real deep hole.
Oh, no doubt about it. And let's talk about that for a second, because the Flyers this season, we've mentioned that they've won 4 games by a score of 2-1.
Right.
And they've rebounded from losses, whether it's in regulation, overtime, or shootout, on every occasion. And when you look at, the Flyers, and we talked about this month of November and how important it is, not only because the standings are tight, it's the beginning of the season, nobody's kind of pulling away here in the East just yet, with the exception of maybe Ottawa and Montreal being at the bottom and no chance. But when you look at it, in the first week of the month of November, they grabbed a possible 5 of 6 points. They beat Arizona. They lost to the Penguins in overtime, but grabbed a point. And then they beat Washington 2-1. And that second week, 3 games again, 6 points available. They only grabbed 2. So they got shut out by Toronto. They beat Carolina on the road 2-1. And then they lost to Dallas 3 games in 4 days, 5-2.
Sure.
Now, this week, again, 6 points up for grabs. Of the first 4 that have been available, they've grabbed 3. Because they got the win over Calgary on Tuesday.
Yep.
They lost to Tampa, but got a point in the shootout on Thursday. And if you can grab 5 out of 6 this week, it'd be paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what kind of aberration in the schedule this is, but I thought somebody mentioned that Boston hasn't played in 5 days.
Not since last Sunday.
Yeah, I mean,
yep.
When that happens to the Flyers, they forget how to play hockey for at least a period.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that this is going to be a bit of a rusty club tonight. So that makes it right for the Flyers to jump on them in the first period. Try to get 2 or 3 goals in there and make the the rest of their night very difficult. They were able to do that yesterday or Thursday against Tampa Bay, and a goaltender, Andre Vasilevsky, who doesn't usually let his team get down like that.
Yeah.
That was a great start. Obviously, without that start, they struggled the rest of the way. Once he kind of got settled down, second, third period, Flyers had a lot of trouble solving Andre Vasilevsky. But, again, the good starts that they've had so far this season, hopefully that's going to translate tonight to taking advantage of a team that's maybe a little bit off their game.
Yeah, and you want to grab this 5 out of 6 this week. You mentioned that they have a tough week coming up, and it really rounds out the month. When you look at this week coming up, Tampa on Tuesday on the road, back-to-back with Florida on Wednesday, Thanksgiving Thursday, Black Friday against Carolina, 3:30 here at Wells Fargo Center, and then Sunday against New Jersey. So 4 games in the pseudo-calendar week, and they'll wrap up the month on Tuesday against the Islanders here at Wells Fargo. But this game's important. To grab 5 out of 6 again this week would be paramount after last week grabbing only 2 out of 6. To grab 5 out of 6 and then face Tampa, Florida, Carolina, and New Jersey next week. All teams you're competing for, at least in the conference, in the wild card equation, and for the points that really matter, which are in conference and in division.
If they can catch teams at good times, obviously that's a better situation for them. This is going to be, I think, a run here for, especially looking at the New York Islanders. They open up their building tonight in Belmont Park, the new UBS Arena.
Calgary, right?
I think so, yes. They've played their first 13 games on the road. They could not be happier to get back home and enjoy home for a while. I don't know how many consecutive home games they get, but I'd really like it if they were coming off of that first homestand, coming back in here to Philadelphia in about a week and a half, and maybe has a little bit of a letdown. So you catch them at a good time. Tampa and Florida. I mean, Tampa right now seems to be a team that you want to get those games out of the way against them now rather than later after they figure some things out. I think the Flyers might benefit from the fact that they're playing Tampa 3 times in these particular 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, because they don't want to catch them when they're world beaters, which they tend to do as the season goes on. And fortunately, they're catching Florida for the second time in a spot where they fall off a little bit. That was a case earlier in the season where the Flyers were catching teams not at good times, and Florida was one of them. Unfortunately for Philadelphia, they caught Vancouver on opening night before the bottom fell out there. They did get at least a point out of it, which is good. But yeah, I mean, this is a very daunting schedule coming up here with really nobody in the bottom half of the league until you get to the Vegas, Arizona road trip, the first full weekend of December, I think it is, whatever the 10th and 11th is. And then they've got a run there where it's Vegas, Arizona, New Jersey, Montreal, Ottawa. That's like the first relief point. And again, you don't look at it as a relief point because you do that, you end up losing the game.
Yeah.
But they just that they have top shelf opposition all the way until December the 10th at this point.
Yeah, the Flyers will get the Islanders at their second game after their homestand.
Okay.
4-game
That's
homestand. Calgary, Toronto, the Rangers, the Penguins. Then they'll head so far away to take on the Rangers at Madison Square Garden.
I've always wondered, what do you do if you're the Rangers or the Islanders and you play the other team on the road? Like, do you really get on a bus at 3 o'clock the day before a game and ride over a bridge and stay in a hotel?
No, I can't imagine.
Like that's just silly.
Yeah, I mean you have your morning skate in your practice rink.
Yeah, I mean I hope that they don't have to do that.
They may actually have the morning skate at the rink because you want to get used to the boards and the feel and stuff. But so this is all said. Basically, what we're saying is tonight's a really important game against the team that they really struggled against last year, but beat already this year. Boston's going to want to come in and change that notion in a big way after losing that game.
You know how we talked about the Calgary game and how the Flyers wanted to come out and show that the team that played the Flames in Calgary was not them. Yeah. I think the Boston Bruins might have a little bit of that tonight because the Bruins on the game on October 20th, they just looked out of sync, like out of whack. It was weird. It was not something we're used to seeing from a group of Bruins uniforms on the ice. Just they couldn't complete a 3-foot pass. The puck was like a hand grenade on the stick. And so I'm sure they realized that they didn't play their best that night, and they want to come in here and kind of show that this evening. So, that's something the Flyers may have to brace for a little bit.
Absolutely. It's a busy day in the NHL. There's 13 games. 26 teams will be in action across the league. Some of those games have already started today. Some have not. It looks like the Devils are going to grab 2 points down in Tampa, as a matter of fact. They're up 5-3 late in the game. The Lightning have not lost in regulation when they led after 2 periods, 30-2.
I assume they're about to.
Yeah, they're down 2 with 44 seconds left.
That's why that graphic is up.
Yeah, and if the Devils do get the win, they're going to move into a tie in points with the Flyers at 19. They will have completed their 16th game in 44 seconds' time. And the Flyers with 19 points as well, sitting in the 4th spot right now in the Metropolitan Division, hanging on to a wild card spot as well in the Eastern Conference. 1 point back of them is the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now they're in action today as well. Columbus is taking on, as I scroll down here, maybe Columbus is not. Oh, yeah, they are. They're in Vegas to take on the Vegas Golden Knights tonight at 10 o'clock. So, a lot of division teams. Carolina just got the win over the Kings 5-4 in day hockey. Eastern Conference teams also. Florida is up 1-0 early on Minnesota. Rangers and Ottawa tonight. That game's postponed, actually. Ottawa's still not back. So actually 12 teams in action tonight. Like I said, the Islanders going to host Calgary. So a lot of action across the board tonight, including the Caps out at the Tank tonight at 10:30 for late night action on the West Coast. But this is an important game for these two teams. And the Flyers going to go at it again, Bri, without Kevin Hayes. Is going to miss the 2nd game in a row. We still don't know the extent of what he's dealing with. I think a lot of us are assuming that it's a setback from the injury that he dealt with in the offseason and then again in the beginning of this season when he had a second surgery and the core issue. We don't know that for sure, but we don't know the extent of the injury and kind of what lies ahead for him, like we know with Ryan Ellis, who's out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's again a touchy situation when you're dealing with that core and whatever it was that flared up on him in the first place. You got to remember this issue, whatever it is, didn't even come up. Like, it wasn't even a game injury. It was a pre-training camp
skate,
non-contact skate. It wasn't even an official team practice, I don't believe, if I recall correctly.
It was not.
So whatever it was something that affected him in the most minimal of hockey situations, and so now he's working his way back from it. The hope is that it's like what you were saying, maybe a scar tissue thing, maybe just a little bit of a situation where whatever it is isn't quite healed all the way yet. Once he got into game action and tested it at game speed, your hope is that it's just not like some sort of major setback that's going to cost him another 4 to 6 weeks. But again, even if it is, Flyers have done okay without him to this point, and you're going to want him to get, number one, totally healthy, and just let him take as long as it needs, because you don't want this to be a nagging issue after the Olympic break. Basically, you want him to be coming out of that Olympic break ready to go as they punch down the home stretch, because your hope is that they're going to be solidly in possession of a playoff spot, but that may not be even in their control, just from the standpoint that there's so many teams right now that are doing so well in the East, and there's going to be maybe 10 teams fighting for 8 spots. Even if the Flyers do well, the other 9 teams are doing well also. So you want him to be healthy, you want him to be 100% for when the Flyers need him down the stretch, and hopefully they're going to find out it's not going to take too long.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you want him repaired, not nursing.
Right. Yeah.
You know
these little things that come up that you fight with all season. If it's the playoffs, if it's the stretch run to get into the playoffs, then nurse it. But for now, let's get him rested and healthy.
All right, let's put you on the spot here before we pick up the radio audience, and put you on the spot again, like I often like to do. And here's how I do it. I'm going to give you a bunch of guys that are without a goal, and you tell me if one of these guys will score tonight. And you pick the guy that you think. I'll pick one as well. Keith Yandle's got 5 assists in the year. He does not have a goal. Rasmus Ristolainen does not have a goal. Travis Sanheim does not have a goal. Patrick Brown's not playing. Albe Kubel's got a goal, but it's in Colorado last night. He had the extra point. He got the 7th goal of the game.
All right.
Oscar does not have a goal. and Nick Seeler and Max Willman do not have a goal. So who out of Willman, Seeler, Oscar, Sanheim, Ristolainen, and Yandel scores tonight? Brian Smith.
I'm going to take Oscar. Very close the other night in overtime, caught the post.
Yep.
He took the opportunity on Tuesday to take a night off, go up and get a different perspective from the press box on the game. That usually ends up benefiting a player, at least in the short term. So I think he's my pick. He's the guy I think going to get it done tonight.
All right, I got a guy for you.
Okay.
And it's not Oscar. I hope Oscar scores for obvious reasons. But I think it's going to be Travis Sanheim.
Okay.
I think that second pair has really settled in, and Travis has been very solid defensively, has not activated quite as much, but those two are getting more comfortable with each other. I think he's developing a trust level that Rasmus Ristolainen is going to be where he needs to be. If he does activate, it was between, for me, Sanheim and Ristolainen, and Ristolainen might see some power play time, especially on power play number 2. Not that the power play is clicking at some kind of alarming rate, because it's not. But when I look at it, I'm going to go Travis Sanheim. He's got 3 assists on the season, plays an average of 22 minutes a night. So I'll go with Sanheim.
And that's a high number for him. Yeah, that's an increase in responsibility. And again, it might come with the fact that he's the one D that's had the constant partner all season. Him and Ristolainen, I believe, have played every game together. So when you have that consistency,
Risto missed a couple,
right? I'm sorry, I meant when they both played.
Yeah,
they played every game together where they both played. So I'm guessing, hopefully, that they're finding some consistency that the coaching staff likes, and as a result, they get leaned on just a little bit more.
I know that Ristolainen was a polarizing acquisition, but he's settled in right now pretty quickly, as a matter of fact, into being pretty darn reliable. And one of the things Mike Yost said about him was, he said, despite the structure that he's playing with defensively, he still hasn't lost his physicality. He's not taking himself out of plays trying to make the big hit. So that's good. How much time, Ryan? 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds, and we'll join our radio audience. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Those two developing chemistry. And without Ryan Ellis, you look at that minutes total, 22 for Sanheim, over 20, 51 for Ristolainen. That speaks to guys being put in more situations.
Yeah, and it helps offset it, too. It doesn't make them rely too much on Provorov and Braun, when they wouldn't necessarily be doing that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's join our radio audience here as we hear the Open playing in our ears. I'm assuming we're getting that over the stream.
Yeah.
Good.
Think so.
Should hear. And welcome to Philadelphia Flyers Hockey. It is the pregame show, Flyers Game Day. Brian Smith, Jason Martinez. We're inside the East Food Hall, Wells Fargo Center. This place is milling with Flyers fans.
Yeah, it's a big night here tonight. Star Wars night.
Yes.
So we've got all sorts of fun going on in that regard, and it is a great Saturday night for some hockey here. I know that my son is home from college. I think a lot of folks are starting to come back home for the holiday, maybe, that don't necessarily spend all their time here anymore, and they're taking advantage of a strong Saturday night here. So it should be a great crowd. It should be a great atmosphere in this building, and really looking forward to seeing the Flyers try to feed off that a little bit.
All right, now we just talked about guys that before the radio audience joined us, that we think maybe will get their first goal tonight. But in honor of Flyers Star Wars night here at Wells Fargo Center, may the force be with the power play. Will the Flyers see a power play goal in this game?
If they're like 3 for 5 or
they
3
take a
it might be Star Wars every night.
Yeah.
After that, I mean, whatever it takes right now, right? The power play at the moment in that time frame that we were talking about the last 11 games before we hopped on the network here. The Flyers have averaged 2.09 goals per game in those 11 games. Somehow they have managed 14 points despite that. But in that stretch, that 11-game stretch, the power play is 8.3%. And that's obviously not going to get it done in the long term. But right now the coaching staff is throwing everything they can think of at it. Oscar Lindblom was put on the power play yesterday in practice. So be neat to see what kind of new look they come up with today. It's just, to me, it's not been so much once the power play is set up and not getting opportunities. It's so hard to set up right now. And I don't know if that's a Flyers thing or an opponent thing, but that's probably, to me, the biggest issue right now is figuring out a way to consistently get in the zone and get set up on the power play.
One of the guys, when you play the Bruins, that you always keep an eye on, and you look at that top line that they can throw out there, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, and David Pastrnak. And when you have that line out there, and
they're not bad, are they?
Yeah, they call it the perfection line. It's pretty good. And the reason why I bring it up is because over the last couple of games, we've mentioned that Sean Couturier hasn't looked like Sean Couturier, kind of controlling the 200 by 85.
Uh-huh.
And in talking to Mike Yeo, I referenced that conversation with Mike Yeo a couple times. I think it's really interesting because I think he'll have a real big game tonight. And I said to him, I go, because of Bergeron? And he said, exactly.
Yeah, this might be a situation where it brings out the best in some of the Flyers players because Giroux and Bergeron are the top two face-off men in the league at this point. Giroux is 62.9 and Bergeron is 62.6 or something like that. And so they've got that to go on. And then, Couturier is, kind of like, some players in the past have done very well against Yager or other key stars in the league. Couturier's some of his best games have come against Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, and that's kind of the prototype that he, they should rename the Selke at some point, and no offense to Frank Selke, but they should rename the Selke the Bergeron Trophy. Because when you look at Bergeron, to me, Brad, that's a perfect hockey player.
Yeah.
A guy that has great offensive skill, has incredible defensive skill in all zones, and he just plays the game from a coaching standpoint. So honest, game in and game out, makes very few mistakes. Remember last year? Was it last year where he fell down and the Flyers got that goal to win the game against Boston? He was skating backwards and just fell down at the blue line. And it was like I've never seen Patrice Bergeron have a pronounced mistake. And it was like a sniper caught him.
It's like, what happened? And then that was 2021, right?
Yeah.
So it was the year before that, wasn't it, that Marchand left the shootout puck at center ice?
Yeah. In 2019-20 season.
Just weird things you don't normally see from these guys.
Yeah, he missed the puck to go in on the shootout attempt.
He pushed it just enough that it didn't count. Yeah. And so, again, you take those breaks when you can get them, but you're not going to get them from these guys all that often because these are seasoned veterans, and they know what it takes to win. And you're right. It's difficult to imagine a guy that you might pick first overall more than a guy like Bergeron or even Couturier at this point in his career. If you were redrafting or something like that, I don't even know what. But you got to get guys that play the right way at both ends of the ice, and they're definitely up there.
Absolutely. And you look at the situation when these two teams go at it. I will tell you, as sure as my butt is on this chair, I love when these two teams go at it. I love Flyers Bruins.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things I always enjoy. These two teams tangling, whether it was in 2010 and coming back down from that down 0-3 to 3-0 in games, the whole thing. And just their jerseys on the ice look great. And these two teams, when they match up, go back to the cup, the first cup, everything. I love when the Flyers take on the Bruins, and it's here at Wells Fargo Center tonight. So stay tuned. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, they're standing by. They've got you for the countdown to face off. They got the first period action. Flyers, Bruins to the Wells Fargo Center. Everybody, have a great night. Enjoy your hockey. You've been listening to the Flyers Game Day Show on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
This is Flyers Hockey on 93.3 WMMR Philadelphia. Everything that rocks.